Greetings. I'm Mimi Wong, and I will be facilitating our conversation today for what is a very compelling play being presented by the Essential Theater from May 30th through June 11th at the Anacostia Arts Center. The title of the play is Dissonance, and joining me today are playwrights and collaborators Marcy J. Duncan and Carrie Sandell. What a pleasure to have you both here. Marcy, would you tell us what your play is about?
Well, thank you for asking and thank you for having us. We're super excited to be here to talk to you. Our play is about two women who are really good friends and have been friends for over 20 years. One Black woman, one white woman. And they're such good friends that they're opening up a business together. And in the process of doing everything it takes to open this business, they are faced with a difficult conversation. One of the things they realize is that they've never, in the history of their relationship, had a candid conversation about race. And one of the things that sparks this conversation is the aftermath of the murder of George Floyd. And now it is the elephant in the room. And so the play is about how these women come to have a difficult conversation.
All right, that was my next question was what was the impetus for the creation of the play? And when was the idea generated? Carrie, could you answer that?
Um, I would absolutely love to answer that. Thank you for asking. Um, the play really was born in similar type situation as the setting of the play and the given circumstances of the play. So I came to see Marcy at a show. We're both actors. I came to see her in a show and really felt compelled to stay afterwards and talk to her. This was in the aftermath of summer 2020. And she had been on my heart and my mind a lot. She has an adult son, the same age as my adult son. And I was very mindful of the reality that she must be experiencing that was very different from mine, and the conversations she was having with her adult son that were very different from the conversations I was having with my adult son. So after the show, I asked her, how are you doing? And said, can we talk? I'm aware of your situation, the conversations you're having with your son must be different than what I'm having. I'd love to talk about it. And I think we could write a play about it. And so that was the genesis, just, as a friend and acquaintance of Marcy's, just really having her on my heart and mind during that time of the summer 2020 and the aftermath and all the civil and social unrest that we were all experiencing. And so that was what started it. And then from there we started meeting and having these conversations that are the elephant in the room conversations that the two characters, Angela and Lauren, have avoided for their entire relationship. And we were still locked down. It was, in COVID land at that point where we all were meeting via Zoom, and we just started meeting and having these conversations via Zoom. And we opened a Google document and we started asking each other questions back and forth. And some of those questions were difficult questions and took a minute to answer. And so in that environment of the lockdown and sharing this virtual conversation by document, it afforded us the opportunity to really sit back and not react, to think, to contemplate the answers to some of the things we're being asked that maybe we had never been asked before. And that was what became the skeleton of the play.
So then you've known each other for quite a while. So basically, this is sort of a true story then about the two of you. And that, yeah,
Not really, not really. Carrie and I have not known each other for 20 years. And Carrie and I had mutual respect for one another. But we weren't best friends. At some point in our journey together, I was Carrie's professor for a semester, and that's how we met. And I had a lot of respect for Carrie, and likewise her for me. And we had talked and kind of checked in occasionally, but when she approached me, um, we had no consistent communication with one another.
Mhm.
Our friendship has developed tremendously because of this project, as you can imagine. And
Mhm.
I do consider her to be like family now. But it isn't a true story. There are some true elements incorporated into play for sure. Some of the stories that are told and some of the monologues and scenarios are taken from real experiences that I have had. But it is a stretch to say that it is a true story. It definitely is not.
But we get
Can
asked
you
that
tell
a
me?
lot.
We
Yeah,
do. Mhm.
because it's so authentic, probably. And so you meet each other. You live near each other then. So that's how
We
you
do.
collaborate.
We
Okay.
do. We do.
What is the production history of the play? Now, you've performed this elsewhere, is that right? Yeah.
Yes, we started at Florida A&M University. It's my alma mater. Go Rattlers. We started there with our initial workshop production, and they were so kind to help facilitate that rollout of the first production. So that was in Tallahassee, Florida, in August of last year. And then we opened in Pensacola, Florida, at the Gordon Theater. And then after Pensacola, the Gordon Theater, we went to University of West Florida, which is also in Pensacola, and we performed it there. And after University of West Florida and Pensacola, we went over to Miramar Beach, Florida, near the Destin, Florida area, and we performed
Wow.
it at Emerald Coast Theater Company there.
Okay.
Um,
Nice.
so we have been bouncing around. Did I
That
leave
seems
anything out, Gary?
You did. After Emerald Coast Theater Company, we were brought to Pensacola Little Theater to perform as part of Black History Month. We had a single night engagement. So
right. So
we just keep coming. We keep getting invited back to Pensacola.
Yeah, and we just got back from New York. We performed in at Bronx Community College in the New York area, and that was amazing. That was fantastic.
so this play is asking us to have some very deep conversations, similar to what you've described the two of you had. You think we as Americans are ready to have these types of conversations?
I think there are more of us in America that are ready than they are of those who are not. It's just we hear more from the ones that are not than we do from the ones that are ready.
Yeah, I agree
What
with
are
that. I mean, go ahead.
no, go ahead. No, finish.
I
Yes.
was going to say, I agree with that. You know, when we've gone through this process, that was kind of one of the things that we talked about is, you know, we're hearing everything, especially when we began this journey, everything in media and in social media was very divisive, was very heightened and politicized. And it did give you this view that, oh my goodness, we're tearing each other apart. And absolutely, there was some extremely hateful things going on and continue to go on, but I think that what was represented wasn't necessarily an accurate portrait of the way most of us feel. I think most of us desire unity, most of us have love for one another, and that deserves to have a voice too, doesn't it? I mean, that deserves to get some attention as well. So, and that's one of the things we talk about when having a conversation like this, and when we began the process of creating the play, we set up ground rules that, hey, I'm going to screw up, I'm going to say something stupid, I'm going to hurt your feelings, I'm going to be ignorant about something, I'm sorry, you know, just understand that it's not done with malice, it's done in love, and let's have this conversation with the understanding I love you and you love me. And I think that's really a
Mhm.
key component that needs to be considered when you're having something that could potentially be a very heightened conversation, is approaching it in love and approaching it with I'm willing to listen to you and I'm willing to see you for who you are.
Yeah, that's, you kind of like segue right into my next question, which was, what are, and you mentioned some of them, the takeaways you want your audience to receive from your play?
I think one of the things that I always mention is I want people to walk away with hope that just because you're different, it doesn't mean that you can't see one another for who they are, right? These two women, have been friends for a long time, but they still never really saw each other. Some of it was because they were afraid to be seen, and some of it was because they didn't have to see, right?
Mhm.
So I think one of the things that I'd love for people to take away from the play is that you can have these conversations, if you approach them in love, and there's hope that there will be reconciliation, that there will be unity, and that there will be um, an opportunity for you to really see each other.
So, do you believe that the message you're bringing through your play can result in them talking and listening? I think, listening on both sides, regardless of your own personal perspectives.
I think, the dissonance is not prescriptive. This is not a, formulaic how to have a conversation about race. But what it does do is as you're going on this journey with the characters, Angela and Lauren, you see one way that it can be done. And you see some of the things that they have wrestled with and some of the obstacles to the conversation that they had been avoiding all this time. And some of the ways that they can then ask for forgiveness, decide to be vulnerable, choose to have an open mind. So it models one of the ways that these conversations can be had. And I think that is what is um, powerful about it, because it's something we can all take away from.
Without giving away the plot, even though we have a general concept of the play, is there any, like, um, I've heard and just observed that you use a lot of symbolism in your play. I mean, is there an example of the type of difficult, I guess, different perspectives that someone from different upbringing or whatever, I mean, living in the South, from someone who's never experienced your perspective, can you give an example of a discussion or an event that happened during your play that would bring out an example, I guess, of what happens in everyday life and how people can actually take that back to their own, you know, personal experience?
I can, in a very
Yes.
general way, like you said, without giving away too much, as we touch on the issue of culture. And I think very much in the, white American community, we don't have an appreciation, let alone an understanding for culture, and that it is something that's very valuable and very defining. Um, so for me as an actor and for my character, um, that is one of the general themes or topics that come up that I think is a poignant point that a lot of people maybe had not considered.
Was the experience of writing the play as compelling personally as it was? uh, was the experience writing it as compelling personally as it will be for audiences? Meaning that I think I'm saying the same thing, is, are they really going to walk away and say, I identify with her, and I identify with her, and I see myself in her, and so and I maybe and I think maybe this is what you're all hoping for, is that that's what they should feel. And hopefully that will open up a discourse, a conversation, and realize that maybe they have had blinders that really didn't allow them to be sensitive, even, I think, to the other person. So is there going to be more of this coming from you too?
I surely hope so. And one of the things, just to your point, your question, after every single show, we get so many people coming to us saying, I saw myself. I heard my words up there on the stage. And what we also hear is people weeping, people laughing, people talking back to us. And some audiences finishing our lines because they already know what's coming. And these are people who have experienced something similar or have wondered some of the same questions that we bring up, or have wanted to say those perspectives, but did not feel that they could, or maybe it didn't come out the right way. So yes, people see themselves, and every single show we are astonished. It does not matter where we go. I'm talking about what race is in the crowd, what demographic. It is amazing how many people come up to us after the show and just say how much they related to our production.
It really has been overwhelming.
Yep.
And, we've performed this at 6 different venues, and like Marcy said, extremely different demographics, age-wise, race, culturally. We were just in the Bronx, and we performed it here in the Panhandle of Florida. Very culturally different areas. We've performed it for university students and then a much older audience. And it has been very hope-giving and reaffirming of what we're doing, to have so many people come up and say, that was my story, or the converse of, I never considered it from that perspective, which I love even more. We had somebody at one of our Pensacola performances, a man in his 50s who grew up in the Panhandle of Florida, say, you know what? I've never considered this, and I've got a lot of thinking to do. Thank you so much for making me reevaluate. And if we can not make people, but provide people with an opportunity to look at themselves, to look at one another, and just evaluate, is this where I want to be? Is this the way I should be? Is this the way it should be that we are toward one another and our worldview? Then that's fantastic.
Yeah. What's next for the play following your DC performances?
Well, we have things in the works that we should not say, but we are also solidifying our tour schedule for the fall.
Wonderful. I think we're all looking forward to the opening of the play. And again, before I wrap this up, I want to ask you either have any final thoughts or comments to make, or
Well, I guess my final comment would just be thank you. Thank you so much for deeming this play, this production worthy, and we appreciate it. And we will be so excited to welcome the audience.
We can't wait to meet the DC audience and talk with them, and just get to have this conversation with a different group of people. We're excited to come.
well, thank you both, Marcy and Carrie, and I've really enjoyed meeting you. For more information on The Dissonance, this is a play that is opening up May 30th through June 11th at the Essential Theater. You can go to their website, www.theessentialtheater.org. Thank you for joining us.